Selectmen's meeting, if everybody would rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have no announcements this evening. We have a 6 o'clock appointment for a public hearing for a wellhead protection ordinance. I'd entertain a motion to go into hearing.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Okay. And with that, Dave, I'm going to turn it over to you for a presentation.
Okay. Dave, have you got that? Can you put that map back up? No?
It'll take a little while.
Okay. Well, we're back here tonight to talk to the selectmen along the lines of our wellhead protection ordinance, which we did a couple of weeks ago with the planning board. Had some issues raised at that time, which when Dave can show us the map, I think that we can clear up one of the main things was the fact that we were encroaching on a gentleman's piece of property in Arrowhead, which with when he does get the map up, or Scott, if you want to show them on the map now, this is Scott Davis from the Arrowhead Water District and Arrowhead Highway Department. If we can show the selectmen. I'll bring it right up on there, At the time of our meeting with the planning board, Scott was unable to be here due to a broken water line. And this is the Zone 1 in their wellhead. And the gentleman that was here, the way he explained it, he owned right up to about here, so that there was a big piece of his property that was going to be actually affected by this. And he raised a lot of questions about it. Scott, can you explain to them now where it actually, his property is?
Okay. His property line is not defined by anything except that if you see where the trees are existing here and they've all been cut off here, because this was paper company land. So our property line runs from approximately right here, right up along here, right into this little sand pit area. This is all of his area here. He is deed restricted out to here, okay, from a deed that is registered. It goes back to the 70s. That's a wellhead protection, a deeded wellhead protection zone, okay? This is Zone 1. So really, the only thing that impacts him that's impacted is this little area right here.
That's
because this is Arrowhead's land. This is actually Arrowhead's land right in here.
That's in Zone 1. He
That's
is
in Zone 1, right.
He is affected
Yes.
by the yellow Zone 2 lines,
Yes.
but they're a lot less restrictive, and there are rules there that allow him to build on 40,000 square foot lots if it's supplied with water. It's a situation where if he wants to develop this, it's no different than going to any other town to do a development. If you're going to be able to use all of your property, you may need to put water into it.
Yeah.
So his property is not, I wish he were here tonight so that we could explain this to him, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that he's not here because of the vote that the planning board did that night, so.
Yeah. This is the only zone where he can't put a septic system.
Yep.
It's going to be right in here.
Which is a lot smaller area than what was explained that night because we didn't have that information with us that night. So.
I have maps that show the property lines better than this.
How does that impact one of the provisions that you have in here that says that the planning board shall not approve any allocation unless it has 160 or
80,000.
Square feet.
80,000 square feet was,
And then
if
you-
it's
then you
not
just said that-
supplied by a water system.
In zone 1 it's 160.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right, in
160.
zone 1, that would be this small area right here. But outside of that area, inside of this yellow area, if he puts in a water main to his property, he could subdivide that in 40,000 square foot lots. Yeah, I do too. Very inexpensively too. Well, all I'm trying to say is, that night of the planning board meeting, like I said, because of Scott being on that water line break, I didn't have that information, so I wanted to forward that to you, and I'm gonna forward it to the planning board so that we can, I don't know if we have enough time to set up another meeting so to get this on the warrant. I really don't know. But that was his major issue, and the other issue was, I guess we can, you guys wanna look at this some
Yeah.
more?
Do you
This is
have
only
the
a portion of it, though.
map that shows the other area that's protected?
The
This is
Waterboro?
just Arrowhead, yeah.
The one for Waterboro, it's in your pamphlet for this.
We didn't get maps. We didn't get maps, we just got the
Is there a
ordinance.
map in this, Pam, in the draft? Oh, there isn't? Have you got it, John? You got one here.
Are you in Arrowhead or are you in the,
Waterboro.
Waterboro? We got the
Here comes Dave. Dave's the man.
rest of the day.
Yes. Thanks, Dave. And what did you have for a question on that?
What's the current zone and what's the expanded zone?
The current zone for, this is our first pump station right here, and this blue circle is zone 1, the red part of it is zone 2, which is very close to what it was originally. That was the original wells for our water system. And then we lost, one of the wells lost a couple of veins. We were getting to the point where we were having to have water hauled in, so we started searching for new water sources, which we dug a test well down by Baker Automotive, one across the street by the golf driving range, one on Roland Denby's property, one out back here, and the one out back here, the selectmen that were on the board at that time wouldn't even talk to us about that well, so. And that well was 700 to 1,000 gallons a minute. I sound like a broken record, everybody out there heard me say this before. That well was a magic well forever. It would've been great. We had a good well that we found on Roland Denby's property, which would have been in between Jimmy Earl's garage and Jimmy's house, only out in the woods. We tried to come to a deal with Roland, and in the 11th hour, he stopped conversation with us and stopped negotiating with us. So then we went to Baker Automotive and went out back there because this is the old railroad bed, and out in this area, there's tons of water up there. That's the Parker property. And so we went to Baker's, which is this piece of property, and we did a test well out there, and the silt was too fine. It would plug up the screen, so it would be not a good place to put a gravel-packed well, which is what we wanted. So then we went over to the golf driving range and tried that one, and that one was the same material. So then we decided to go back. This was one of the original sites that back in 1992, 93, they drilled some ledge wells out there, and that's off Straw Mill So we drilled a gravel packed well down there that produced 70 gallons,
Yeah, about 80 gallons a minute.
80 gallons a minute, and they pumped it for the required 7 days, 24 hours a day, and it's a really good well. And so that's where we own that property, and we had easements out to Strawmill Brook, and we were gonna put the line out that way, and then there was a development started out here off West Road. It was a shorter distance, less money to put the pipe in, so we went that way. And then the engineering company came to us with this map showing this is the Zone 1, the most restrictive area, and the red is Zone 2, which is less restrictive, but there are some things there that you have to abide by. Here again, in Zone 2, if you can be serviced by a public water system, the lots can be 40,000 square feet. If not, it could be more square foot. 80, I believe, is what it has to be. Which, all of this zone, with the exception of what was already a zone for this well, is all serviced by the water line.
Where's the 202 corridor?
202 is right here.
Right there?
And Zone 2 touches this lot, just right there. This is part of the day field, which was already within our first watershed area.
David, if you sort of start over and start from the bottom and explain, I don't know if people at home can see this, it's hard for me to see it, but go from Strawmill Brook and go up through and talk as you go by how and whatever, you know.
I can try to. This is Strawmill Brook Road, right here, I believe.
Pencil, David, I was looking for a pointer.
Yeah, that might work doing.
Dave?
Thank you. Oh, you got a pointer to it. Laser action, I like it.
No chasing the
Little
light.
dot on the
No,
top
no.
is the trigger.
No sticking it in my eye or anything like that. Actually, I can see it better from back here too. Okay, this is the Zone 1. This is Strawmill Brook Road. I believe that is where Fred's house used to be. And this is Liz Gould's area right here, back into here, which, I'm sorry, I gotta take that back. This is Strawmill Brook Road. This is Fred's old house. This is Liz Gould's property, which is impacted by the Zone 1 near the back of her property. These are all the houses around where Diane used to live. And you come out Strawmill Brook. This is Bob Jones's property. I'm not sure whose property this little piece is. I know that this piece, starting right here, coming out, up all the way across here, this is all Foglio property. Doug Foglio owns all this. This is Skylight or How and How right here. These lots over here are, I believe that,
That'd be McCoy.
I'm not sure who owns that, but McCoy's is right here. And then all these houses down through to Mike Hammond's and Rusty Giles, John Ellingwood. And then back to our property. The water district owns this property right here for the other well. This part of Zone 2 goes off into, this is beyond where Dave Shallon lives. And this actually is, the brook is right there. And actually that is part of the brook right there.
Now, the odd shape, is this because that's where the water mains are?
The odd shape is done by,
Maybe Andy could,
yeah, I probably should let Andy, get your last name, Andy. Tolman. Andy Tolman is the Assistant Director and Hydrologist for the state of Maine. And he's part of the DHA HHS drinking water program. He could probably explain that a little better than I can.
Maybe, although this isn't
You
my
want
model,
to
I
point
just
it?
blessed it. Yeah, the well draws its water mostly from the sand and gravel right around it. But because the brook is essentially, as you said, a vein, it's a conduit for water, the well tends to reach out farther right along that brook valley. Typically, that kind of land is, not land that you're going to develop anyway, but it's really good to keep people out of the brook where the water's coming from. Not being local, I can't name all the folks that own everything down there. You've got a good trustee there.
That small finger that sticks up there, Andy, actually is already developed. There are some.
Yeah,
some
so whatever's there is there.
Yeah.
We'll manage it.
Actually, there's, and I'll come up and help you with that part of it, Andy. There's, the majority of this side is developed to, well, there are houses there, and this land in the back, I'm not sure who owns that, but it is extremely wet back there, and it gets wetter as you go back further towards the railroad bed, which is right here. These houses are all existing except for a couple of lots. Jonesy's is probably one of the biggest tracts on that side of 202, and there's one house there and his garage. This may be the little house where the Dumas live, and this little piece right here.
Is that
But I think
safe storage place?
No, it's before the, well, yeah, that might be the storage place, and the Dumas place was back here again.
Right, and a little box, there's two miles.
That is? Okay.
Commons, I believe now.
I don't know who owns it.
Commons.
Yeah.
Commons.
So the majority of this is already has housing on it. The same with on Straw Mill Brook, except the rate on this part, which is Mr. Hamilton's property. And then we own this piece right here, and over onto this side. Right
You're on the blue area there.
Pardon?
The blue area, the southern section of the
Yeah,
blue area.
all of the blue area is ours, which is property that we purchased when we had the line put out there, so to cover the zone one.
Can I make a point, Dave, about, we don't, if we cross through a particular property, we don't absorb the whole lot. We will enforce the area that falls within the wellhead protection area.
And
So-
that's it. Which comes into play, right there's a very little triangle that crosses Doug's property, and this part right here crosses on a diagonal on Doug's property. But here again, this property can still be 40,000 square foot because there's a public water line right in front of all of it. So all he'd have to do, which he plans to do, because I believe that he's already got a T right there to go in onto that property. But I'm assuming that if he's gonna do industrial work there, that he'll have water for each one of those lots, so. And all of these properties along here already have public water, except for, they all do, don't they?
They have access to public water.
Well, yeah, but I think they all do.
They may have stubs up into the
Yeah.
properties, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, where is the old Alfred Road there, David?
The old Alfred Road is right there, I believe, Dave. Yes, right there.
Dave, can you blow that map up a little bit?
The further I stand back away from it, a little better. Yeah, that's the old Alfred Road right there. Whoop, right there. That's the old Alfred Road.
So, this is already the existing,
No, this is what we're proposing.
this is the
at time.
proposals.
Yeah.
What is the existing zone? Who is going to be in this zone that's not current?
The current one is this red up here.
It's actually a little bit bigger, Dave, but we're shrinking it down.
Say again?
Up the old Alfred Road, we're going up a little bit. Existing goes up to where the power lines cross. We've reduced the size of this.
So you don't have a map that shows the existing versus?
Yes, I probably have one.
And to get back to how this is developed, while he's looking for that, would you explain that, Andy? You want me to explain it? Or?
The consultant runs a long-term pump test and monitors groundwater in the area, monitors the flow, and then they build a model, essentially, a mathematical model of the flow from the best they know of the geology in the area. And you trace essentially particles along the flow path that is not identical to, but as close as you can get without going out there and spending years looking at it. So this is like a 90% likelihood of where the water's coming from. This is the area that if we protect this, you have a pretty good chance that your well is going to stay clean. If we don't protect it, there's a pretty good chance you'll lose the well. So that's why I'm down here, is that, we want to protect your investment and our investment, since we loan the district some of the money to do the work, and we'll have to help pick up the pieces if we can't protect it.
Can you explain, for those that are in the current, everybody that's in the current zone,
From the original
from the
well?
original, going into this new ordinance as proposed, what are the changes that are going to impact them? Not on a map, what?
Land use, right?
Right.
Land use changes?
Yes.
Originally,
If I get you to step up to the mic
Sure.
so Joe
yes.
can.
This is Joe Vicari. Joe Vicari is superintendent of the water district.
Originally, the original wellhead had clear-cut restrictions. It was no use at all. The one we're proposing now is going to give latitude to the planning board in approval. It won't be a restriction on land use anymore. It's going to be, there'll be layers of protection and a little more engineering involved, but it will allow landowners to use particular land given the certain, like for example, if there's chemical use, there'll be a set of standards that the planning board would follow to ensure that there isn't any introduction of chemicals into the groundwater. Same with storm drain, and those are all listed. Previously, the previous setup we had, there was no allowance for certain activities. With this new rule in place, it will allow people to develop their land and use it, but they will have certain guidelines they're going to have to follow, and if they can meet those guidelines, then they'll be able to use the land as they wish.
I think one concern is that the Route 202 corridor and Route 5 had been seen in the past and may well be seen by the 2020 visioning group as prime area for business zone. And what I'm looking at here is that the wellhead protection ordinance doesn't severely restrict business opportunity along that prime area, because we don't have a lot of places in town that is most desirable for business development, but certainly right along that 202 corridor and Route 5 too has been seen that way. So I guess I'm wondering, I'm kind of concerned about them coming into conflict with each other.
As I was explaining, there is a table. Andy, do you want to attack?
You've been in the middle of this one,
Okay.
on the edges.
Okay. There is a table in here, and whatever activity occurs or proposed activity, the planning board would follow the guidelines and standards in allowing a land use. So, for example, if somebody intends to put in a parking lot with their activity, they would fall under stormwater management. A lot of these are probably already regulated to some extent through DEP regulations and probably to some of your own code enforcement rules and regulations. Some of these are probably a little more aggressive in protecting it or ensuring that there wouldn't be contaminants, but the guidelines that the planning board would follow fall under the
Actually, retail development has relatively few restrictions other than really good stormwater management, which is something that's a good idea anyway.
That's
Yeah,
for
if you're just
retail.
doing small box, big box stores,
How about light manufacturing, similar to what you may have at
as
Colony?
long as, I'll get up and talk, as long as they manage their chemical use and storage well, which is pretty much best practices anyway, they would be allowed. They have to show that they have secondary containment, which if they're big enough to come under DEP regulation, they do anyway. We're just trying to reinforce that this is a sensitive area. Chances are, if you're doing light manufacturing, they need your water too, and so they don't want to pollute the water that they're using. It's, it's something that if we bring it to the surface, people will want to do the right thing.
Well, I know that when we talked about it, we say that people don't want to pollute the water, but if we look back historically, that's in essence what they've done. They've polluted the
Yeah.
rivers and brooks and streams and wells. I mean, Waterboro's had a problem with wells being contaminated,
Waterboro,
and we don't want to see that happen again.
no, that's true. Waterboro had, early on, back when I was much younger and had more hair, several, Waterboro Patent Company and a couple of other sites that we all spent a lot of money cleaning up. And the goal would be never to have another one of those, but still to have a good business climate. To have people move in and do the right thing for the right reasons. And I don't want you to over-regulate, but I do want a level of regulation that makes sure people do what they know is right, as opposed to being tempted to do things cheap and dirty.
Is anybody from the planning board on that?
Not that I know of.
I thought that it would have been something.
Well, can I speak on that?
Yeah.
Because of my lack of information on what Arrowhead to offer and not being able to answer one other question that we'll get to in a few minutes, the planning board made their decision on that night, what they had for information. So I don't question their decision because I did lack information, so that was partly our fault. I feel that we're able to answer most all the other questions. The only other question that stood out in a few people's mind here that night was who was going to bear the burden of enforcing this? Enforcement of all ordinances fall under the code enforcement officer. And enforcement of this wellhead protection in every town that I've checked with falls under code enforcement officer. It's not something that she is going to have to be walking through the woods and policing if there's a violation and to enforce it. We don't feel, and Andy may have something to add to this when I'm done, we don't feel it's adding that much to the cost of the town. Other people might have a different opinion, but, and I wish that Patty were here so that she could voice her opinion, although it probably isn't good for her to voice her opinion on this, but we just don't think that the restrictions that we have set forth, if we were to set up our own policing, it would set code enforcement over here involved in some ordinances and us over here trying to police our ordinances. And it's just not, it's not something that's done in any town that I know of.
But the water district is separate from the town, right?
Correct. But this is an ordinance, just like any other ordinance that is brought before the town, that if it is accepted, it is under the guidance of the code enforcement office. And a good part of this, after hashing it out for a couple of months now, are things that are already on the book. And so, you know, it's really not changing a lot, actually.
Who's gonna be responsible? I understand the concept of the CEO being the charging instrument on this, but who's gonna be essentially the prosecutor? Are you hiring, is the water district hiring their own attorney? Or having their attorney prosecute this in
To
court?
the best
Or
of my knowledge, that isn't the way that it goes anyplace good. That's what I've been told.
so you want the legal fees to be borne by the town on this as well?
You mean to have this read over, or to have it enforced?
To bring this to litigation?
A policing action, you mean? If we're to find a violation, where would we go at that point? Is that what you're wondering? Or-
It would be the same
The
as any
CEO
other
would
ordinances the town has.
charge for the violation would go to court.
Yes.
At the time that it goes to court, who's paying for those attorneys?
Right now, if there's an ordinance that's violated and the code enforcement officer summons someone and it goes to court, the town is paying
Right,
attorney fees to bring that case to fruition and through the judicial system.
right.
So if the concern here is that in the case of a water district violation, now the town and the taxpayers are picking up the legal tab for those violations as well. Is there any provision in this ordinance where the water district is going to, or could there be some kind of provision where the water district would reimburse the town for legal expenses? Or have your own attorney that would be the prosecuting entity? Yeah.
Have you ever come across anything like that, Andy, in your?
I've seen provisions, and actually there is one in here, where the applicant, the person who wants to do something, has to pay for the experts to review their plan and make sure it's good. And although I have 6 credits of law, I'm a geologist, and so my legal advice is not worth a whole lot, but in the event, the goal of this ordinance is not to have people prosecuted, but to have good planning and have people do the right thing. If something goes wrong and there is a violation, then yes, it's my understanding, I sit on that side of the bench in my own hometown, so I'm dangerous. But my understanding that it is the town's responsibility to enforce the ordinance and that they can collect those costs should they prevail from the person that they prosecuted. I know there are water districts who participate actively in enforcement activities, mostly in surface water watersheds, where they have staff that help to monitor activities. And they're mostly much bigger water districts than this, too. But there are places where water districts work with the code enforcement officer.
And I think when we spoke with Patty, some of these violations, we would end up turning to the DEP for their assistance. The problem, if we noticed a major problem, it would kind of get turned towards the DEP to essentially
Sure.
follow up and enforce
Yeah, if
the
there was
violations.
actual groundwater contamination, it
Right.
would immediately become a DEP issue.
And there is wording we put in this that states that at that point the DEP, we follow DEP standards, and then the DEP would essentially assist us in any way in litigating it or resolving it, as Andy just mentioned.
Is this the area there that you were mentioning?
Yeah.
Didn't have the answer with the planning board?
At that time, that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And that's why we invited Andy to be here to back us a little bit. And it's the same with, if someone puts a septic system next to Ospey Lake and they do it within the rules and regulations and it seeps into the lake, it is something that goes to DEP or EPA, and this is all followed up by other organizations as well as the code enforcement, so. It just, I just don't see it being something that we should double enforce, double police. There's no doubt in my mind, I travel, when I'm on duty, and every other month I have duty for the water district, and I travel the whole length of the water line, and I go to each pump station once or twice a day, twice if I'm not working out of town, and we are looking at all times. And that's our policing right there. We're looking for hydrants leaking, for a leak that is visible, or some other situation that might come up on a house lot that's serviced, or any other service that we have out there. The school.
That's maintenance, that's not enforcement.
Well,
Unless somebody caused the leak, then you'd have an
you know,
enforcement action.
it was, when I was road commissioner, Patty came to me and said, listen, we got a problem. We have a report of a chemical being dumped down the sinks at the, well, it's T&K machine now, but it was at that time, it was the, damn, what was it? The recovery.
Oh, prep recovery?
Yeah.
Recovery concept.
And so she notified me, we went over there together, we checked it all out, but we were notified by DEP, I believe it was, called us, because those people called in and said that it had inadvertently been dumped down a sink. So we checked it out, they tested, we had some tests done, and I consider that policing. That's something
Yeah, that would be a potential violation, but the fact that you go around and check hydrants and water stations, I mean, that to me is
Yeah,
a
but
maintenance issue.
we're looking on properties also.
If the town was, would the water district be agreeable, and I know you probably can't give an answer now, because you know, would have to discuss it, but if the selectmen said we were interested in working with this ordinance, but we wanted to see a provision where any legal cost, attorney fees would be borne by the water district, is that something that the water district would be interested in entertaining?
We've actually talked about that a little bit, but we haven't voted on such a thing, but we will. If there's, we will talk about it for sure, and
There's two interests here. The impetus for this is coming from the water district, and one of the issues is protecting your investment in your wells. The other one, of course, is the satisfaction of clean water for your customers. The town, on the other hand's major interest is the health and clean water of its citizens, but does not share your interest in protecting your investment. So when it comes to legal action, the town would be more interested in the protection part of its for its citizens, but not interested as much in the protecting of your investment. So therein lies a little bit of the difference between where we're coming from.
can I kind of come up with my opinion of that, John? Right on Straw Mill Brook Road, which is inside the Zone 2, all of these houses have their own well. And I'm only using this as an example, if someone within that development, or this property, or this property, or this property, if they dump oil on the ground, accidentally or on purpose or whatever, and it got into the aquifer that feeds those houses, then it is the town's problem, because it's not, even if it is within our zone, but what about these houses up here? What about if the contamination back here at G&F were to become another problem?
I'm not saying that they're mutually exclusive. I'm saying there's an overlay of interest
I
here.
agree.
However, the town's interest is primarily in safe water and good water, and we overlap, but we're not as interested in protecting your investment, and therein lies some of our thought of, that maybe the water district should take up at least a portion of the legal cost, because not only are you interested in clean water, but you're also wanting to protect your investment.
Well, it's, what you're saying is true, John, and what David's saying is true, but I mean, there's no question, if you don't have a clean, healthy source of water, you will have no development. You know, I mean, it's water is essential, and so it's a sort of a catch-22, and we have to work together. You can't. We may not like everything that goes on, but it's to our advantage as well.
Dwayne, you had a comment?
I think you're beating a dead horse, because I'm quite sure, and I worked on the wellhead protection when this first got started 25 years ago, but PUC, the state, and the federal government requires the town to protect the wellhead protection. Now, you've got a water district that is trying to get water and protect it, but you've got a trailer park on the north end of town which has a wellhead protection. You've got Lake Arrowhead that's got a wellhead protection zone, and I believe you've got another wellhead protection zone over in maybe Pine Springs. Part of that, I think, was in Chaplin, part of it was in Waterboro. All of those are wellhead protection zones that the town of Waterboro had to create, or the planning board had to create years ago. Now, the well company, Waterboro Water, is now trying to better their source of water, and they have 2 wells that they've got to protect, but they're still governed under PUC, the state, and the federal government on protecting that water, which, once you get an ordinance that the town of Waterboro adopts, it's up to the town of Waterboro to protect that ordinance and enforce that ordinance. So it's, the burden is on the town of Waterboro on any of those. It isn't just this one wellhead protection. Because when you've got a public well, they're servicing, I think it's over 4 or 6 houses.
More than 25 people a day, more than 60 days a year.
You need a wellhead protection around that well, or body of water that is feeding them.
And Waterboro, as you point out, has been really progressive in that, partly because of your history. You guys have had a wellhead protection ordinance for longer than many towns. And this brings it into a modern era, and actually, as you say, makes it a little more reasonable to deal with the landowner. It puts more of a balancing test and more of a performance test rather than a, just don't do this here and don't bother to ask, which is the way the early generation ran. That's all we knew.
Now, with,
That's how this district came about, was because of the patent weather plan
Yeah.
and the way that they did things down there and dumping chemicals out of the ground and in the brook. That's how this all started.
now, this, you're expanding the zone, so there's more properties that are gonna be impacted by this ordinance
Once you
than
see
there
it
are
right there,
currently.
that's it.
So I did go in and meet with the tax assessor to ask if that would have any impact on property values. And because you have properties that would now have restrictions on them that they did not have in the past, it would in fact affect the tax value of the properties by 30 to 50% and could impact the valuation of the town as a whole as well. So I think that's also part of the balancing act, is protecting your water source, and I understand how important clean water is, but there's also a fiscal impact to the town that we have to be concerned with as well. And so I think that's where, I'll be honest, that's where I'm struggling, is I understand the need for it, but I'm concerned not about some of the other impacts that it has on the municipality.
I would question Jerry's opinion on that. I mean, what's the difference if somebody lives on a private road? They don't get any services, and they're still paying the full burden of taxes.
These properties were purchased, valued at X number of dollars because this is what was permitted on the property. But now they're gonna be in a zone that's gonna restrict what the use of that land is, which devalues the property.
I doubt if, I don't know, I question it.
Dwayne?
Well, I gotta disagree there to a point. You haven't got much zoning down through there that's village zone. And if it's GP zone, it's gotta be in the wellhead protection, or in the wellhead water district to start with. And the GP zone, I believe, is 40,000 square feet, other than some very small business, which would be a cluster development. So as far as making a lot bigger, I don't believe you've got more than, you might have 3 lots there that might be impacted a very small bit, but if you're talking business, no.
Well,
Unless it's a building of under 1,000 square feet.
I'm going to trust the opinion of our tax assessor.
Does anybody know who would pay the cost if I have a private well and somebody contaminates my well?
It's going to be a legal battle between you and the man that polluted your well.
Okay, why is that then, if we're talking, why is that any different than somebody that's on water for the water district and somebody pollutes that?
Because
Now you want me, as a taxpayer, to pay for the litigation for somebody who has town water because somebody else contaminated the aquifer, yet because somebody contaminated my aquifer, I have to pay it on my own.
You had legislators in office, and it goes back prior to '83, that came up with the laws, because this wellhead protection started, I believe, sitting in about '83 or '84. Because that well that is on the Gould property, I believe, was drilled in either 1983 or 1984. Am I correct, David?
This one right here,
Yes.
92?
it was prior, it was,
82.
DEP went in and drilled
it
it.
was prior to the forming of the water district.
About 4
That
or
was
5
very
years.
early planning, yeah.
It was 1983 that they found that the leather mill probably was the pollution of South Waterboro Village. And that's when the water district, they started looking for town water for those people. And there was 27 homes, I believe, down through 13 homes down through South Waterboro Village.
That they started putting artesian wells in for,
And found that
and so on.
there was still
Yeah.
pollution in those.
I think that started around 1988. The original survey from the town was investigating sites, and in around 1990, 91, that bottom site was evaluated. And by 1992, we accepted the one up by the old Alfred Road.
If I could go back a second, sir, and try to answer your question. If you're on a private well and your well is contaminated with any contaminant the DEP regulates, mostly hydrocarbons, volatile organics, metals, there are, as they did with Waterboro Patent, the state will come in and use our tax dollars and fee dollars to either replace your water, treat it, or hook you up to something. And they will reluctantly do the same thing for the water company if it happens to them. But they will also go looking for who caused the contamination and try to recover the costs.
Which they did during the period of time that we had our contamination in South Waterboro. They actually, at one point, they were going after Lasky's garage, and I'm really not sure what happened there. I don't remember what the report said, but eventually they did feel that the contamination came from the patent leather plant. But that's, and then he said that's the way it started. That's how we started as a water district. And that money came from a super fund, I believe.
So it's all our tax dollars, the big tax dollars. You know, I don't want to minimize that it's still money. It's the reason we want to protect things is because
We don't want
we don't want to have to do that again. It costs way more than developing the water source and protecting it to clean up after ourselves.
Oh, I understand the need for protection,
Just who,
it's not the issue.
yeah.
Any other questions, comments from Scott?
Well, I'd like to make a couple of things. Regarding your concern of basically the town having to litigate at the end after something has happened. I think that's a lot smaller issue than what the town will be doing proactively. This ordinance, as I see it, is almost entirely proactive, and the town, through the Code Enforcement Office, will be proactive in preventing a calamity down the road by making sure that people that do development comply with the regulations and keep everybody's water safe. My other comment is regarding the value of the land. This doesn't really, this only affects one entity up by us. But down here, the value of the land that you're talking about, I think a lot of those properties are serviced by the water that you provide. Okay, well, if their aquifer gets contaminated, what are those properties going to be worth there? Because they won't have a source of water. And that's huge. I mean, what is the value of good, clean water? It's almost priceless. And if it gets contaminated, their land values go down. Now everybody's in a bind because they don't have good water to use. And I think that would be more detrimental to land values than actually enacting the ordinance.
Any other questions, comments? Sir?
Was there any communication between the planning board and this meeting, you guys? Because I was at the planning board meeting last time, and there were many, many questions that I thought were going to be resolved before this.
The correspondence that the board received from the planning board is that they had voted not to pursue going forward with the ordinance. Let's see. The request of the Board of Selectmen, the planning board held a public hearing on March 16th. The purpose of the hearing was to receive public comment regarding the following proposed changes to the zoning ordinance. The hearing was attended by 9 members of the public. Several people asked questions and spoke against the proposed changes. After discussion, the board voted 5-0-1 to recommend that the changes ought not pass as written. Andy Cody abstained from voting as he was the newly appointed to the board and did not feel he could render an informed decision. So they're recommending to us that it not go forward as written.
Yeah, there were a lot of questions that were raised, and in fact, one of them was that...
I'm sorry, before you move forward, could you just identify yourself?
Yes, my name is Bill Calvert. I live on 202, and I am impacted by this.
And can you come up to the microphone so we can hear you?
Okay.
Unfortunately, the sound doesn't always pick up back there. Thank you.
Yeah, the reason I was wondering is because during the meeting last week, there was some questions that came up, and I thought that for this meeting, there was going to be, or at least all of us in attendance were going to get a geological survey of how they come up with that design of hydraulics and GPS mapping and everything else there too, to satisfy everybody.
Dave?
That was not one of the things that was asked. That was asked by the gentleman in Arrowhead that said that he would require that, if this ordinance goes through, he would require that he get a geological map of how this was all planned out and plotted out, and so on. And as far as the GPS location of the watershed area, that was asked if that could be, and as far as I know, it could be. It could be. But that wasn't a question that was asked as far as questioning the whole ordinance. That was raised by the gentleman that owns property in Arrowhead, which was the small piece that we showed you on the map.
That actually went on to something else too, about the responsibility. He was saying about that too, that gentleman that he's talking about. He owns, I believe, it's 88 acres in the Zone 1, and he was saying that, okay, if this goes through, whose responsible is it? Whose responsibility is it if I have a challenge or a limitation to developing? Would it be the town's responsibility? And nobody had the answer to that either. That was one of the questions that was going to be for this one.
When we first started, I'm not sure if you've gotten here yet, that's what we just showed them on the map. He's not impacted to anywhere near 88 acres.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have that map at that night. Scott was, like I said, out on a repair for a water line in Arrowhead, so we did not have that information at that time. And I just did show them up there. I can show you too if you'd like me to show you.
Yeah, no, I'm only speaking because there were a lot of questions, really valid questions that were raised that weren't answered, and we were hoping to get answers for this. And as far as this goes, I'm not opposed to this at all. I mean, it doesn't affect me as a homeowner that much. The only question I would have is, where I'm located is the crook of the back of the bunny shape there. And my property is right across the street from Foglio's, that big property there. So why would my property be affected and not his? So that's what I was looking for, to see that study of the groundwater. Why was he not impacted, but I am?
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
We do have a book about this thick of engineering information. We did a 7-day drawdown test on the well, and that's how those lines were established. I'm not going to get into the engineering. Maybe Andy can elaborate a little bit on that. But there is a book and information available if you want it, or if anybody needs it to support their argument. You do have it available. You have to.
Yeah, it was just a matter of...
We didn't just pick these randomly.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was to save that Foglio property for business development or what. Because there was a previous planning board meeting about 2 years ago when there was a proposed site on that property, and they told me in the planning board that it won't affect my groundwater, my runoff, because it goes that way anyway. But now it's saying the opposite here.
That was a different study. That had to do with where the water would go from the property on the other side of 202 for groundwater.
Right.
I was on the planning board then, and that was on the site for Soto, I believe. And that was just for drainage and groundwater, where that would go if that building was put in there, and that's what they were talking about.
Yeah, the question I raised at that time was, and I know this has got nothing to do with this, but if you build something over there, it's going to affect the drainage for my property, because it's all going to come to my way, my area. And it was argued that no, it's all going to go the opposite way. So why are you saying tonight that it doesn't go that way then?
It's a totally different study, and
I would think that if they design and build something out there, that they'd be required to, their water would essentially have to essentially follow the same paths that it does now. The planning board would probably be able to answer that better than I could.
Right, I know this isn't the forum for it, but, yeah, but anyway, there was a lot of questions were raised, and I don't see the answers tonight, but I'm not opposed to this, so.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Well, I guess I wish that we could sit down with Patty and the planning board and look at this a little more here. I think there's some issues that I don't have information on, or concerns. I mean, the basic concept of this wellhead protection, I am for. You know, I mean, you've got to have clean water in town. But if there are concerns and issues, then let's discuss them and see if we can't work through them.
I agree with you. Too many unanswered questions, and I'm not opposed to protecting the water. I mean, it's absolutely vital. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But there are still a lot of other unanswered questions, and I haven't heard anything about whether or not the water district has any plans at all of going back before the planning board to answer those questions that they didn't have the information on the first time.
We actually wanted to wait and see what your concerns were and cover it all at one time, which is pretty much what David's saying. It would be good to get everyone together and answer all the questions. And we have a meeting Monday night, and I will talk to the other trustees on the legal part of it and see what their opinion is, and we will try to get together with the planning board as soon as possible. I'm not, are they still there? Is it before 7?
A little bit after.
Yeah, well, they're probably gone.
If you
But-
want to, I think we need to have that sit down.
I do
So
too.
if you want to have your meeting on Monday, and then set up a date with the planning board on when they can get together with you, and just make sure that we're included in that. I mean, if it's at a planning board meeting, then
You
it's
want
at
to do
planning
that
board
as a
meeting.
workshop, or,
Check with the planning board
okay,
and see if they have a night where they can do a workshop with the water district, the selectmen, and the planning board, and we'll try to work it that way.
okay.
And open to the public too. We want
Obviously.
to
Oh,
get
yes.
everybody
Oh, yes.
that possibly is impacted here. You know, it would be good, I don't know if you can do it, but it would be helpful if you had an overlay showing
Yeah.
the present waterhead protection areas, and then an overlay on top of that with a different color or something, showing what it would change to. And then we could actually look at the properties that are affected by the change proposed.
Anything else? I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
That's so made.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? And we'll wait to hear from you, Dave, on a date with the planning board.
Okay, I'm gonna go over there, I just saw Peter.
That's my personal one.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I wish you all good luck with that. Let me know if I can help you some more.
Thank you very
You're not
much.
right next door, but I know how to find you.
Very good. Thank you. I'll let it settle down for a minute.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, hearing a delegation.
I'm Dwayne Woodsome, I'm here under hearing and delegations. I was here about a month ago and asked for a letter from the Board of Selectmen on the rejection of a donation that I offered the board on a workshop on the right to know. Workshop with, I was gonna set that up with Ken Cole the 1st of January. And I was gonna pay for the workshop. And I've yet to get that letter from the Board of Selectmen saying that they rejected my offer of a donation. And I've been through this with the town administrator, the selectmen here in the public, through the selectman secretary. I've yet to get it, and I'm here just to request it one more time. And the second thing is, under the right to know training through MMA, each officer, Board of Selectmen, has to take this right to know workshop and hold a certificate every time they're elected or re-elected. And at this time, I'm asking for a copy of their certificate. And at this time, I present you with a check to take care of those fees, of the copying fees, and the hour that should be invested in researching and getting that letter drafted.
Okay.
And I would expect that maybe a little bit quicker than what I've got the last request of maybe 14 or 15 weeks. I would hope that we could get that within a week.
Nancy will take care of that. If you have any further questions, you can contact Nancy.
I have done that several times.
John?
A point of order, I'm not sure that that is an action that should be taken by the Board of Selectmen is more than an individual choice, you know, training sessions offered by individual citizens, I think it's up to us individually, and it's, I'm not sure is something that we'd vote on. So I'm not sure that Nancy can write a letter for me and say, okay, if I decided not to go to this or not to take Dwayne up on it, it's my own personal decision.
That will come from the board, but Nancy can take care of the
Okay.
right to know certificates.
Okay, fine.
And that's my point, John. I'm not sure if the board was even, took it across the board to vote, or if the chair denied it.
No, Mr. Woodsome, it was the entire board that opted not to participate in that. We received the notice that you wanted us to attend that meeting after we had held a selectmen's meeting, and it wasn't in a timely manner that we could take an official vote during a meeting. I put the offer out to the Board of Selectmen via email that anybody that wished to attend could, and all of the selectmen, they all individually opted not to participate. It was an individual
Okay,
choice.
so I'm going to leave before I get into a heated argument.
Probably a
But
very good idea.
there, you just admitted to an illegal meeting. It did not get put on the agenda.
You're right, it did not. Moving on.
I
Dave?
just wanted to let you know that I went in to speak to Tina, and she is going to call the chairman of the planning board tomorrow and be in touch with him and see if it would be okay with him if we have a workshop on a week from tomorrow night.
So, April 4th. Okay.
Okay?
April 4th?
And she is going to either contact Pam or Nancy and let
April
them know.
6th.
Thank you.
And what time was that on April 6th?
They meet at 7?
She will have to.
She'll let us
She'll
know.
let us know on the time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, correspondence, proposal from E. Jane, Universally Yours. In our packets, we had an offer from E. Jane to do some work for the town, preparing job descriptions, I guess you could say, for committees and committee members. Pam did draft up a response to her that's in our packets that we do already have that done by charter. And if the board is agreeable to sending that correspondence to her, thanking her for the offer, but letting her know that that is something that we do already have in place. So if the board's agreeable to that, we can send that correspondence out. Yeah? Yes?
I gotta admit that I wasn't paying attention, so I don't know what to say.
You gotta take that phone away from you.
I'm entering the
Dates, you don't
date
forget
for the
for next
meeting,
week.
so I don't forget it, yeah.
In your packet, there's a letter from E. Jane,
Yes, yes.
and there's a drafted response.
Yeah,
If
I
the
saw
board's
that, and
agreeable, we'll send that
I'm
response.
agreeable to that.
Okay.
So was this just a volunteer type thing, no
Yes.
cost?
Yes. But the charter already defines what our committees are and what they do. So it's, what her offer is already in place.
I guess I have to go back to Mr. Woodsome's situation there. And was he wrote a letter thanking him for his offer?
No, but we will send him one.
I guess it would be nice if it was timely, like this one here.
Well, I don't necessarily think it was he's requesting a letter thanking him for his offer. I think he's asking for a letter of, that the board refused his offer.
He also could have got a letter of
Acknowledgement?
gratitude that he offered it, okay?
Yeah,
But
the
we chose
acknowledgement.
not to.
Yeah.
But just remember, David, there's 5 of us on this board, and any one of us could have written that thank you letter, and none of them did.
Well, okay, that's true, okay?
Okay,
But
so
there's a
I
little-
just, I'm kind of put off that everything is getting put by Mr. Woodsome on me, and that's because of a personnel issue between he and I.
Well, it is a personality and personnel, or what do you want to call it, okay? But what's good for one person is good for another. Case closed.
So is everybody agreeable to the response to Ejane?
Yes, I thank her very much for her,
If that requires a vote, I'll make it into a
Yeah.
motion, and that we accept the letter as written by the town administrator in
By our
response.
secretary.
Or by our secretary, I'm sorry.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? So Pam, if you could just send that out, thank you. Report.
For the record, individually, so they know, I did not elect to participate in Mr. Woodsome's offer because, number one, in my prior occupation, I was the public information officer and have had extensive training in the freedom of access law. Secondly, I have a certificate that fulfills my requirement through the Named Municipal Association that will be produced, and he'll get a copy of it. So I see no point in having the redundancy of another class on the same subject matter that I've just completed. So that will be, you can put that in the response letter there.
And I've also am working in the field of law enforcement and have had my right to know in person, an 8-hour course up in Augusta, so.
well, I mean, from my aspect, I may need to update, but certainly very heavy in that area as a school administrator, as a former superintendent of schools and school principal, went through a lot of training in this area. Again, it may be that at this time I could, for a certificate, I'm not sure if I have a certificate.
I don't think you've done yours yet.
I haven't, and you could have sent me an email, but last fall I was,
You and
with
computers
it.
aren't always very friendly either, and it's a computer course, so.
Oh, yeah.
but I would like to take it, so.
Town administrators report.
Southern Maine Regional Planning has sent out the census population, and for Waterboro, in 1990, our population was 4,510. In the 2000 census, it was 6,214. And the 2010 census shows that our population is 7,693. We're still holding budget workshops. They're still ongoing. We have one tomorrow night. Now we're taking a hard look at revenues or lack thereof and trying to come up with a budget. We did receive a check in the amount of $7,245 today from our Efficiency Maine, and that will go with the $5,115 that was raised at last year's town meeting to do our energy audit, which I believe should be finished. I think they're coming in for the board, is it the 2nd or 3rd? 19th of April. So that will be taken care of.
And I talked to Tom today, and he said did appear to be on track, so, time-wise.
And I'm starting to work on the warrant. And I want to thank Dave for putting up the double monitors. It is wonderful to be able to work on have one document open and have another one so I can go back and forth and not go from laptop to computer to laptop to PC. So, thank you, David.
Okay. Selectmen's reports?
I'd like to mention this, it seems a more positive note than the vein that we've taken up to this point. I'd like to commend the Maine Magic Basketball, which is managed by the Waterboro Parks and Rec Department and coached by Chris Burnett, who's on the Economic Development Committee. There was a tournament down in Massachusetts. 104 teams participated, and the Waterboro team walked away with the championship.
Wow.
The whole thing. They beat Mass Elite 45 to 39. They will be, and this is age group from grade 5 to grade 11 in this. So I think that they did, very well down there. Their next weekend, the team is going to travel to Fairfield, Connecticut to compete in the Northeast Hoop Festival. So I guess on behalf of the board, I'd like to wish them the best of luck and the best to Mike DeAngelis and his officiating, and to Chris Burnett and his coaching. So, and I guess his son Trey also, helps him in the coaching environment. So I think that's a pretty good achievement.
That is excellent.
Excellent.
Okay. Anything else, Selectmen's reports?
Just, when is Sebago Technics coming in?
Next week?
Next week? Okay.
Okay, moving on, new business. Discuss vote to approve waiver forms, partial payments. In our packet this week, we had a request for partial payments for some overdue taxes. These are all by one individual, but there are 3 different parcels. And the 3 parcels together, the back taxes are owed for 2009, 10, and 11, totaling $12,944.98. The proposal is to pay collectively $500 per month until the balance is paid in full, which would be just a tick over 2 years. The properties, one's Deering Ridge, one is on Main Street, and one is on Bennett Hill Road. What would the pleasure of the board be?
I would move that we accept the payment schedule
Second?
of $500 per month.
Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay. Discussion?
Is this all one party?
It's all one person, yes.
Okay.
Do we know, that seems like a long period of time. Do we know that amount is sustainable, or are we going to enter into a tentative agreement that basically sets this individual up for failure, that, a year down the road, if things change? I mean, is the $500 a month sustainable? That seems like a significant amount of money.
They come up with the amount. We don't come up with the amount.
Yeah.
And if they can't, then they can, if their situation changes, they can always come back and get it amended.
Okay, they can reapply to alter the, okay, good.
And this includes the same guidelines as anyone else, the interest payments and stuff like that? Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Yes, it doesn't stop any of the proceedings, it just allows them to be making money.
Right.
They still have to pay interest and everything.
So we have liens on these properties now, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, for 09, right?
Well, let me look.
Because it also includes the current, what's due currently.
all right. So are the funds going to be attributed to the whole balance, or are they going to be targeted to property to property to property so that we can take off the lien on one and move to the next one? Or is it a package deal where they gotta pay everything up front and then we take all the liens off altogether?
In the package, you'll see that there's 3 separate forms for each different parcel of property. So, for example, one of the properties on Deering Ridge Road, the taxes owed on that one is $4,400. Their proposal is to pay $200 a month on that parcel to
Okay.
take care of those.
Okay,
And then another one is the,
so that $500 is gonna be
It's broken
split,
up.
but it's broken up, okay.
And it goes to the oldest tax.
so '09 would be paid off first, and then,
Now, are we talking about this, or is it a different one?
yep, there's 3.
That's the one.
That's one of them, I think.
Okay, so that says 100 a month.
Yeah, and
What's the
then
total?
there's,
What's the total?
There's
Is the total?
another for 200.
There's another one for, there's 2 more, and those 2 are 200 each.
Okay, okay. Okay, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, next, under old business, discuss vote FEMA proposal. This is what we've talked about for the past few weeks. We were fortunate enough to have somebody from FEMA come in and speak to us last week to explain exactly what the MOU was for. And we have in our packet the final document that needs to be signed. So I'd entertain a motion from the board as far as what, if we would like to enter into this agreement and sign the proposal.
So move.
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All right.
Which, like the wellhead ordinance, was a very dry reading.
Yes. Other warrants, I would entertain a motion to sign warrants for bills and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Would entertain a motion for the minutes for 3/22/2011.
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Could I move it twice?
Yeah.
I-
John moved it, you...
We're trying to move it along.
Yeah. Pending decisions, public service announcements, performance bonds, we'll need to be getting Tom in on that, and the committee self-evals. For the week's action list, we've got the water district that's actually going to try to set up the meeting with the planning board. We have notice that's going to go out, and we have Nancy that's doing some research work. Discussion of agenda items for next week. We're going to talk about the Charter Commission again. We said if we couldn't grab somebody up, then we would look at appointing somebody from the board to serve on that. John wanted to do a review of the goals.
Yep.
We have the Courtney Lane parcel that we have some more information on, so hopefully we'll be able to wrap that up. Anything else that anybody would like to see on the agenda?
Sebago Tech next.
Yep, Sebago Tech is coming in.
Bring something up I just brought to Nancy, and when I brought a similar situation up, it got done without going to the agenda, and I don't know if this one needs to. Back to Deering Ridge Road, and not, and they're coming from Deering Ridge Road down to Townhouse Road. There's a very, the stop sign comes up on you real fast if you don't know that road. And especially when there's, the leaves are out, and it could be a serious accident waiting to happen. It could be dealt with probably by just putting up a stop sign ahead sign, a couple hundred yards up the road. And I'm just wondering if that needs to be discussed, or if that can, if you look into that and maybe get a report back, and yes, it should be done, or will be done, gonna be done, or whatever.
I know when we had a similar request for a sign over at Straw Mill Brook Road and Ospey Hill Road, we sent it to the Road Review Committee for a recommendation.
Okay.
And then they reported back, and we accepted their recommendation and sent it off to the road commissioner.
Yep.
So is that what we want to do with this one?
Yeah.
That was for a stop sign, right?
Right. for
Yeah.
stop
This
sign.
is just for a sign to say
An
stop,
ahead.
advisory,
stop
but-
ahead.
Yeah.
yeah. Do you know whether or not, John, that any trimming of?
I think that was brought up, some trimming. I thought, maybe that could be done, but it would be a lot cheaper just to put up a sign,
No,
stop.
but I mean maybe the combination of the two. the
Yeah,
sign
a
and
combination of the
trimming it
two.
So that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's, trying to think, I know there's like I
There's an
think a
old
little
gravel pit or
ledge
something,
there
yeah.
and some trees that, are like saplings next to the road there.
I think the road commissioner going up there could decide what
Yeah.
the best combination to do on it.
Yep. I'm
Road
okay
review.
with sending it to Tommy to kind of go and take a look at and
Right.
make a determination and let us know if that's amendable, agreeable to everybody else.
Yeah.
Could you just have Tommy swing up?
One thing that I'd asked to be on last week's agenda, which I didn't see appear on there for one reason or another, I guess, was an update
From
on
Susan Swed.
from Susan Swed's office. And I see that we have an email
Yep.
that shows that status. So I guess maybe I'd like to have this added to the agenda next week.
Jerry is out for the next
Well, we've got the email
6
that we
weeks or
can
so.
discuss, I guess, or,
I mean, is there something we need to discuss, or?
well, I think I'm just looking at wanting to find out what's the best way to do this, because I know that when we decided to go forward with it, we had done that in public. And I just thought that we probably needed to at least have the update in public as well.
We can, I mean, if you want to,
As an overview, I mean, we
if you want to
can say.
discuss it, or we can do it as correspondence. I mean, it's a correspondence, it'll be under correspondence next week.
But I mean, I don't think we necessarily have to name the litigants in this matter, just to say that we've have X number of cases pending that will net in a specific amount of money when they're brought to fruition, that would be brought into the taxes. Now, it's not on tonight's agenda, so I don't really want to discuss that unless we
Yep,
want
put
to
it
have a
on.
vote to add it on to the agenda
Well,
tonight.
we've got,
Yeah, and there's like 3 of them, just looking at the list, they're no longer in business and haven't been in business for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
all right, we'll add that to next week.
Okay.
Anything else? Items needing signature, warrants for bills and payroll, the minutes of 3:15. We have the warrant for the special town meeting, the MOU with FEMA, and the waiver forms for partial payments. We will be moving into a workshop with the transfer station regarding regional contract. Before we do, I'll read the reminders. Wednesday, March 30th, will be tomorrow night at 6 p.m., the budget workshop here at the Town Hall Annex. Monday, April 4th, 6 p.m., the Water District Trustees at the Town Hall. Monday, April 4th at 7 p.m., the Charter Review Committee's meeting at Town Hall. Tuesday, April 5th at 6 p.m., the Selectmen's meeting at the Town Hall Annex. And reporting next week will be the motor vehicle agent, the tax collector, town clerk, and general assistants.
I would just like to say, too, to extend any members of the Finance Committee that can make it tomorrow night. We're getting down to the 11th hour, and decisions are going to be made, are being made. So this would be a good one to for you to sit on.
And with that, we'll move into our workshop with the transfer station. The committee didn't want to attend, transfer station committee?